Welcome, everyone. If you haven't, while I'm doing my introductions, please feel free to do a little doodle, and you'll see how that plays into copyright as we join in. So my name is Dana Greenspan. I am a consultant with Copyright and Creativity. I'm a retired educator with 24 years in education from the Ventura County Office of Education as an ed tech specialist. I retired in 2017. And so our presentation today is ending copyright confusion, and it's all free. And we're going to address that again in a little bit because people say, how can it all be free? But Copyright and Creativity is a nonprofit. And today we're going to share our free resources for teaching copyright and fair use. And I'm lucky today to have an awesome educator, Brittany Fleming, with me. And Brittany serves as our CNC State Ambassador for Arkansas. And Brittany, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hi, I'm Brittany Fleming. I am a K-4 elementary librarian in Arkansas, in Northwest Arkansas, and I'm just excited to be here with you guys today.
So great, thanks. So in the chat, if you like, you can feel free to introduce yourselves. If you would like, you can give us your name, but your role and where you teach and what you hope to gain from today's presentation. And we'll make sure that we address all your issues in the chat. And so it's really important to know that these materials were created by educators like yourselves and lawyers on both sides of the copyright spectrum. So those who think that everything's a copyright infringement to those that think that everything should be open for sharing freely. And the result was they signed off on everything, every word actually. And so we have a non-biased approach to copyright and fair use. And I just want to add a disclaimer that we're not lawyers. We're not able to give legal advice. So everything we give you, everything we're sharing today, none of it should be construed as legal advice. And if you have specific questions, as you go through the website, you'll see that we try and teach you the thought process and how to use fair use so that you can make your own judgment calls. But feel free to ask those questions and we'll do our best to answer them. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, so free in big red letters. So you wonder how we can share it for free. All of our materials are licensed through Creative Commons. It's a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 international license. So you're free to use all of our materials, or if you just want to use a video or a slide from the slide deck, you're also free to do that. Again, we just ask for attribution. And as you'll see, we have K-12 curriculum, so elementary, middle, and high school curriculum. And we have slides, videos, PDFs for each lesson. And we also have an online PD course, and Brittany will share that with you as she's showing you the website. And you can actually earn a badge when you complete the course. So the materials were originally developed by I Keep Safe, and I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they were a digital citizenship nonprofit, developed excellent resources. And when they changed their business model a couple of years ago to data privacy certification, we knew that these resources were just too good to let go. So we found a new nonprofit home, the Internet Education Foundation. So when you do give us attribution, we ask that it be both to I Keep Safe, the original creator, and also to Internet Education Foundation. And when we say free, again, materials will always be free. It's not a case of free today and a subscription fee a year or two down the line. Unfortunately, we've all seen that. We currently have a grant, and the grant allows us to do this type of interaction with districts. So when we get back to face-to-face, we're able to go and provide face-to-face training for districts. And it also allows us to provide hands-on support and attend conferences and things like that. So worst case scenario, materials would always be there. The direct hands-on support might not. So why teach copyright? Today, technology has changed really how we think about creating and sharing. And everyone has a printing press just right in their pocket, which provides the means to create movies, music, images on the go. And everyone really has easy access to a worldwide distribution network. So not only can they create, but they're also able to share those creations with folks. And so the results is that kids and us too as adults are interacting with and creating and distributing media every single day. And it's become even more increasingly true in schools today, given our distance learning. So some basic understanding of copyright is a necessary life skill in the digital age. And it's an important element of not only digital citizenship, but also media information literacy. But the basic rules of the road aren't well understood, and they're not obvious, as copyright can be complex. But I will share that once you go through the content, you and your students will have a clear understanding of what copyright is, its protections and its limitations, and then how you can use copyrighted works legally and ethically. So we found that teachers are also hungry for information to help clarify these concepts for students and maybe even themselves. So again, if you're not comfortable teaching the content currently, you can either use our PD course, our online PD course, or as you teach the lessons, and you'll see we have lesson PDFs, so you could actually go and just talk through the entire lesson as it's scripted. And you become, over time, you become more and more comfortable using our resources. So in the past, copyright used to be viewed as a somewhat esoteric legal subject, and librarians know a lot about it. But beyond that, it really seemed that it was professionals and lawyers in certain industries, publishers, movie studios, and record labels that really were copyright experts. And so to help kids understand the role of copyright, we really emphasize their roles as creators. The idea is to get them thinking about the works that they create or might create someday, and look at copyright protection from that legal perspective. We also aim to correct the frequent misconception held by students and us as adults that copyright is for big commercial creators, not for me as an individual. And so to accomplish this, CNC provides practical, positive information about copyright related activities that kids regularly engage in. And I think this will become very evident as you see the positivity, as Brittany shares our lessons. And the curriculum's really centered, it's organized around three key functions: acquisition, sharing, and incorporating others' works. So for acquisition, we really try to get kids to stop and think about, why is it that many things are free on the internet? Is it artist choice? Has the copyright expired? Or is it infringement? And we provide information about where they can find those lawful sources. For sharing, we point out that you can share your enthusiasm for your favorite artists by forwarding links to the artist's webpage, for example, and by getting them thinking about legal options for sharing. So again, rather than illegally downloading and posting an artist's work, really going and linking and showing them how they can use that fairly, or is it a fair use? And then incorporating other works into your own. This is really a big hot topic right now, again, due to distance learning and the amount of work that students are creating. So we spend a lot of time on fair use. Again, those 4 factors, understanding what those factors are, and really being able to go through them and see how it applies to our creations, and whether or not you have a case for fair use. And we also introduce public domain and Creative Commons, and provide activities so that students can practice relying on, again, fair use, public domain, or Creative Commons to find their own creative projects. So I'm going to play a video. This is from our middle school content, and it gives you an idea. It's 4 minutes, but it'll give you an idea of what our content is like.
technology is awesome, isn't it? Not that technology. I'm talking about the revolutionary technology invented hundreds of years ago called the printing press.
Dude, that looks old.
Oh, it's old. 600 years old.
Before Gutenberg's printing press, if you wanted a book, someone had to copy it by hand. Only the richest people in the world could afford to buy books. Most people didn't have access to creative work at all. But the printing press changed all that. For the first time, mass production of books became possible, and big ideas could spread fast. An author could finally reach a mass audience. But also, for the first time, an author's life's work could be copied and sold by anyone with a printing press. Does that seem fair?
No way.
So, in 1710, the British government passed the Statute of Anne.
No unauthorized copying of a book for 14 years, with the option to renew for another 14.
By the way, unauthorized means without permission. So authors had time to earn some money from their work before it fell into the public domain. The idea was to encourage them to keep writing, which means even more creativity. Nice, huh?
Nice.
Fast forward 60 years. When it came time to write the Constitution, guess what? Our founding fathers included copyright.
To promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries.
What?
The Constitution gives Congress the power to pass copyright laws, and as a result, authors have the right to get paid for their books and to decide who gets to make copies.
That makes sense. If you put in all the time to write a really good book that people want to read, you should be able to get paid for it.
And printing books was just the tip of the iceberg. Now I'm talking about your phone. In almost 600 years since Gutenberg's printing press, copying technologies have advanced from copy machines to tape recorders, all the way to the internet and your phone. It's easier and easier to copy and distribute creative work all the time. And it's no longer just writings. Today, all it takes is just a few clicks to copy everything from music to video to software. In a world where copying is so easy, we still look to copyright to keep the creativity flowing.
So what does this mean for me? What does it mean for you?
For starters, it means you get a lot of control over your own work. When you make something, a story, photo, novel, poem, song, video, dance, Instapic, tweet, app, video game, even the doodle you drew on your napkin at lunch.
Sweet.
If it involves creativity and is written down, recorded, or saved, then it's protected by copyright, and in general, you get to decide who can make copies, distribute copies, display or perform the work in public, and make spin-offs. We call these derivatives. Like when a book is made into a movie or characters from a movie are made into action figures. You don't have to be a famous singer or artist. Copyright applies to you whenever you make something, whether you choose to share it with other people or not. This also means you can't just take someone else's creative work, like a song or movie or computer program, and post it online for everyone to download. And usually, you can't make copies or perform someone else's work without permission. These are illegal uses, and we call them infringements. Copyright protects creators from these kinds of infringements. Does that sound like a lot of protection? Well, it is. But copyright has some important limits built into it that also aim to encourage creativity. First of all, not everything is covered by copyright. Copyright does not protect facts and ideas. Facts and ideas are free for everyone to use. Same with government documents that include websites, videos, even pictures from outer space. No copyright on those. Second of all, copyright isn't just a one-way street protecting authors. It also protects reasonable uses of copyrighted work without permission. This is called fair use, and we think it's so important it needs a video of its own. Third, remember how the Constitution talks about giving rights for limited times? Eventually, copyright expires, and all creations become part of the public domain, where they are free for everyone to copy and share. In a world where technology makes it super easy to publish and share our creative work, it's more important than ever that we respect each other's creativity. Our online communities work best when we are free to express ourselves, and we can trust that those expressions are protected, with limits, of course. So, a big thank you to technology and copyright and everything else that encourages free expression and creativity. What are you going to
So in just under 5 minutes, we learned a lot about copyright. I was going to include a few slides, but our videos do such a nice job of imparting information. So this is a really good one for students to start with. And the big aha moment, so we saw that the doodle, that if you created one, is also protected by copyright now because it's in a fixed form, written down in a fixed form. But it was also a big aha moment for students. We conducted a survey, a study through Harvard University and Boston Children's Hospital with middle school students. And that was their big takeaway, that in the pre-test, they thought that it was the big corporations of the world, the Sonys and the Disneys and big recording artists, their works were protected by copyright. And after going through the lessons, they realized that they too are copyright holders. So it was a big learning moment for students. Whoops, sorry. Didn't mean to do that, but to advance the slides. So I'm going to stop sharing now and I'm going to turn it over to Brittany, and she's going to walk you through all of our resources. And feel free to, ask questions if you have, or stop us, or have us go back and revisit something once you've, if you have a question or want to some clarification or additional information.
All right, so this is what our website looks like. When you first visit, one of the things that you'll notice pretty quickly is that you have to register to gain full access to all of the resources. And that's really simple to do. And I kind of just wanted to show you. So when you go to register, these are just the only things they ask: your name, email, are you an educator? That's it. And so the nice thing about it is when you go to log in, all you have to do is put in your email, which is great because I know we all have 1,000 passwords to remember.
And Brittany, if I could just jump in and add that the reason we ask you to register is for our grantors. Like I said, the grant that allows us to provide face-to-face PD and ongoing support, it provides them with data. They see how many folks are using our materials and where they are geographically. So.
Okay, one of the things I wanted to show you is that there are kind of 4 levels of resources that we have. We have elementary, middle, high school, and then professional development for teachers. And I want to start with elementary. Okay, so here's our elementary page. And down here are all the lessons. And you notice it has it by grade band. So it starts at kindergarten all the way to 6th grade. But I know for me as an educator, I kind of pick and choose what I do depending on my students more than I do my grade. But I do want to share with you one of the lessons, this one here. And there's different ways that you can access the lesson. One is through PDF, which this is great, especially if you have teachers that aren't sure about copyright. They're a little nervous maybe to teach it because it's scripted here for you. So there's things in here that help make it easier for you to be able to answer the questions that are going to come up with your students. You also have your links to the videos because all of these lessons have some fantastic videos that go with them. And I want to play one. I know Dana showed you a middle school one, but I want to show you the difference between the middle school and the elementary ones. So you'll notice it's wordless, which it kind of helps get the discussion started with the elementary kids, but also you can use this with other grade levels because you could help them or have your students create dialogue, and even ESL classes could use it with their English language learners. But I want to show you to the slides, and this is what I use the most. So you have your PD lessons that you could print off, or you could just do the slides, because everything that's going to be in the PDF is going to be in your notes down here at the bottom as well. But this is pretty much your entire lesson that you would have for your students. And you would just go through this. Here is just a quick activity where you have your kids stand up and sit down when they answer questions. I use this a lot with my fourth graders. But the biggest thing that I want to tell you as an educator is that you don't have to use these slides exactly like they have them here for you. I know I already said earlier, I try to pick and choose with my students, because there's years that I have some students that know so much about copyright that I really have to be creative on what I teach them. And there's other years that they don't. So I have to add a little bit more and go back some grade bands with them. And then if we scroll down here to the supplemental materials, and I'll come back and talk about the infographics in a little bit, but I want to share with you about the Google Drive, because you have the PDF available for you. You have the Google Slides. I usually, when I teach, I just go straight to the Google Slides. I don't download anything, but you can. So we have the Google Suite here for you with all of the lessons and the slides. So that way, if you want to have them in your own Google Drive or download them, however you choose to teach them, that's how you can do it. Again, I don't use it this way, but some people prefer to do it this way.
Yeah, so I'm a downloader. I like to have everything on my desktop and available. And there's links to, again, all the videos and the slides and everything in that folder. So
I think for me, because I go into other people's class, especially this year, Arkansas is in school. We've been in school since August, and I have to be in other people's classrooms. Our library's closed. So for me to download's hard, because I need to be able to get onto this information on everyone's computer. Okay, I want to take us to the middle. Now, I had said earlier that I'm a kindergarten through fourth grade librarian, and I will tell you that with my fourth graders, I tend to use the middle school curriculum more. Again, it depends on the students that I have, but I love the middle school lessons just because of the knowledge that my students already have. And again, I might pull some slides from the elementary ones, which I do. I tend to pull the slides, especially the activities of standing up and sitting down ones. But this one here is a lesson that I use a lot. Let's go down to the slides. And I just kind of want to share just so you can get a feel of what they look like and kind of how I use it in my own classroom. I know sometimes that helps. This lesson tends to really focus on them as a creator and as a consumer. And so that's something that I really introduced to my fourth graders. And I sometimes have them start with the doodle that Dana had you start with. And here's why. One of my favorite videos that we have in our lessons is this one here. And I'm not going to play it. Well, it's actually this one and this one. They're back to back. I do use both of them. And pretty much what it is they're National Geographic videos about these cameramen and these scientists going out and videoing meerkats and videoing polar bears. And I don't really say too much to my students up front. We just do the introduction part of the copyright and talking about creators and consumers. But then I show this video. They've created that doodle that took them like 5 seconds to make. But these videos make reference to how long it takes to get these videos made for National Geographic. This polar bear one, they tell the students that they spend 3 weeks just waiting for the mother to come out of the den. And you can start seeing the light bulbs going off with the kids afterwards. And that's when I start asking them, how much did you really care about that doodle that you made? And they're like, not really, it's not that special. But then when I start talking to them about how long it took these cameramen and these scientists, anyone at National Geographic that's created this video, and it's like they realize, wait, they put a lot of work into it. It is important. And it really helps them to start thinking about using other people's work and how we or why we want to protect other people's work. And something that I've noticed over the few years that I've used this is that when I first started teaching copyright, the kids actually use copyright in a negative term. And so they would say, oh, you copyrighted that. They had no idea really what it meant. They've heard the term before, but they thought it was negative. And it always makes me laugh. And I think that's why I love these lessons so much too, because there's such a positive spin to them. So we talk more about, okay, we're not going to call it copyright's not negative. We call it infringement. And then we use it how it's more positive. Why is it a positive thing to have your work copyrighted?
Brittany, before you jump off to that, can you just show the, go down, scroll down below the ways to access this lesson. So the video clips that you see, these are not new video clips. These are the same video clips that are hyperlinked in the lesson PDF or embedded in the slide deck. And we just have these there again for to accommodate different teaching styles and ease of teaching. So if you want to just jump on and view the video on the meerkat or the polar bear, it's here for you. So again, those are not additional videos, but just different ways to access the content.
Yes, thank you. I tend to forget about that sometimes. Okay, and then we'll look at high school. And there's not as many lessons for high school. They are going to be similar to what you saw in middle school, but there's also some independent learning videos that you will find down here in the supplemental materials as well. So let's actually talk about the supplemental activity or materials, because I want to point out these infographics. So you've got the free speech and copyright and fair use, and then 10 things you should know about copyright. These are actual great posters. I think, Dana, are they about 11 by 16?
Yeah, 11 by 17, right.
17, okay. They're a great thing to have posted in your classroom. That way, you know, when the students walk past, they can actually look for themselves. This one here has the 4 factors for fair use on it. But I also think it's a great idea to have in your teacher's lounge, maybe next to your copy machine for your teachers as well. You can print these off in a PDF format, but you notice it's like black background. So that's a huge ink cog. So you can request these to be sent to you for free. And again, it's free. When I first started using this information, Dana sent me enough of these posters for my school, for every teacher in my school. And that's something that she can do as well. And I know not everyone is in person quite yet, but she can still keep those on hand for you, and we'll give you her information at the end if that's something that you're interested in. Dana, did you want to add anything else about that?
No, just, you know, when you email me, just be sure and tell me how many sets you want. We send them out, so you get one of each and some information about our lessons. And if you just indicate the number of sets you want and give us a physical mailing address. We're a little backlogged. I'm processing December orders now, but they should be out in a few weeks, so.
Okay, let's talk about professional development. When I first started using copyright and creativity resources, I did use the professional development. I didn't feel like I knew copyright enough for myself to be able to teach it well enough. So I did go through the Canvas version. So there's 2 different ways that you can do PD with us now. We've got Canvas and then the newly added Alludo for Alludo clients. I don't know a lot about that one. So Dana, I'm going to have you talk about Alludo for a second.
Okay, so Alludo Learning, again, it's free to districts that are using Alludo Learning. We basically took our PD course and put it onto their platform. So Alludo, again, is gamified PD. So districts can decide how many points teachers need during a year, and then to provide teacher choice so that teachers can go in and pick and choose what games they want to play. And so again, we have our copyright basics and copyright in action. But for those districts that are not Alludo users, the Canvas course is available in the Canvas free portal. So you don't need to be a Canvas using district. You just need to go into the free portal of Canvas and create a login and take the course. And it's says 2 to 3 hours, but it's done in chunks, and you can do, 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, whatever fits into your schedule. And you do get a badge at the end. So,
and that's how I did it. I didn't do it all in one setting. I think I did it over a week's period where I did several a day. There are 5 different modules that you go through, but again, it's very simple. I actually recommended one of our high schools in our district. They were having some issues with copyright with distance learning. And I recommended this PD for their staff. So it's something that's great just because it's self-paced, which I know time is always an issue in schools. All right. Let's actually talk about copyright and distance learning. So copyright and creativity has got this great information sheet here for us. Now you can actually print this out or you can just read it online, but it's copyright and distance learning, tips and resources for teachers and administrators. So there's 3 ways to use copyrighted works with distance learning, because even though we are still teaching in a virtual classroom, it's not going to be exactly the same as it was in our physical classroom. So one of the ways it starts off with is the Teach Act. This is going to require action on the part of a local education agency. A policy has to be in place and provide information resources to students and staff. And again, you could use all of our resources for it, but because policies have to already be set in place, this isn't something that an individual teacher usually uses unless it's already set up for them. So this isn't one that you're going to automatically go to. And of course, fair use. Just a reminder about fair use, there are 4 factors to fair use. You have purpose and character of use, the nature of the original copyrighted work, the amount and substance of that, of portion used of that work, and then the effect on the market. But with fair use, you have to apply all 4 of those factors in every instance to determine if it is fair use. And just because it's fair use in your physical classroom doesn't mean it's fair use in your virtual classroom. So you really still have to look at those 4 factors to decide if it is. And then of course, the last one's always permission. You can always ask a creator for specific permission to use their work. We are seeing publishers giving specific permission for a limited time, especially with read alouds. That's a big one, especially in elementary. This information sheet contains links to other resources, including a list of publishers who have given permission for a limited time. When you do this, it's very important that you continue to monitor those lists, because throughout this entire year, they have changed the dates. They've extended them, thankfully. A lot of the publishers have made them even longer, but you need to make sure you know the ending dates, because those publishers do want you to take those read alouds down. I want to actually show you one of them. So Penguin Random House made it really easy. So some of the publishers are a little bit harder to do. They want you to only do it live stream, or they want you to email and ask, but not all of them are. And Penguin Random House is one that I love because, number one, I have a lot of books from my library from them, but also it's so easy to ask permission. So you just fill out this form, but the nice thing is it will let you add a lot of books at one time. So what I ended up doing is I thought of any book that I might use throughout the year, and I went ahead and asked for that temporary permission. And notice that it ends on June 30th as of right now. But again, it was May not too long ago, and they've extended it. So you want to just keep up and make sure that you're paying attention to those end dates.
Yeah, and you want to respect whatever restrictions they have. So sometimes they want you to do a little, have some language before the actual recording of the book that says that you're using it with permission for a limited time. And you want to respect those dates, make sure that you do take, no longer make it available after, like in this case, after June 30th to students or staff, so.
Yep.
I think there was a question in the chat about the professional development Canvas course that says
Oh,
2
yeah.
hours.
Oh, okay, so it
Yeah.
says 2 hours a week. No, it's 2 to 3 hours total. So if it's, I'll go back and I don't know if we've misrepresented, but yeah, 2 to 3 hours total for all 5 modules. So, and again, it's closer to the 2 hours total versus.
Yeah, just 2 to 3 hours to complete total.
Yeah.
And Dana's probably right. It really doesn't take that long. I didn't time it just because I did it over a period of several days. Are there any other questions? I can't really see the chat, so I'm not sure.
So do you want to, so we were sharing the tips about distance learning. So I don't know if there's other questions about that. You know, the links are dynamic. So even though this document was created March of last year, the links to the list of publishers, things like that are actually live. And so those take you to the updated information from the publishers. So.
Which is nice. Because then you don't have to bookmark anything. You can just come here and go straight to those different sites. Over here, you've probably noticed, because I've had to exit out of it a few times, but we have a little extra information that we want to make you aware of when you're on the website. And some of it's just the PD and the copyright and distance learning. And these are just links to take you there, the free posters. But one of the ones I want to share with you too is the office hours. So, and I'm going to scroll down. Every week, several of us along with Dana, we are available for questions. If you have questions about the resources for copyright and creativity, I do the middle school one with Dana, and then we have someone in Missouri and Pennsylvania that helps out with the elementary and high school. But this is a great time to especially get one-on-one or in a small group help with some of this copyright resources. Dana, did you want to add anything else with it?
Yeah, just that if you, you know, have colleagues that want to come on and learn about our resources, but also if you think your district or school or county would be interested in professional development, we can do a webinar customized for your district or for your location. So that's something also to consider. We've done a number of them for different districts around the country, and typically they're an hour, but sometimes you know, they can be longer depending upon your needs, and we can break it up into multiple sessions if that's beneficial for you. So
yes, we've really been practicing our virtual webinar.
There's another question about the sources in the Google Suite.
Okay.
I think it says just, what about the resources in the Google Suite?
it says, yeah, if you go back there, it says Google Slides lets you add images directly from their platform. So, you know, Google has that safe search. So in our slides, in the slide folder, again, sorry, not slides, Google folder, G Suite, you can open one or, yeah. So if we're looking at the elementary, it has our presenter guide, it has our lessons, the slides, the PDF, any videos. So everything's right there. And again, you can use any or all of these. So if you want to pull like slide 5, which is the video review, and have that available, it's a link, it's embedded videos from the previous grades. When you say Google Slides let you add images, again, I would say encourage students to do the safe search under Google. So it takes them to the Creative Commons licensed images and videos and music and things like that. So the more students get accustomed to using Creative Commons or public domain or government materials, it's just easier for them to practice that, and they become, I know when I present, I just automatically go to those either Creative Commons, public domain, or the Google Safe Search, so that I know that I'm getting images that, or media that I can use legally. A good activity with older students is to actually have them create something, and then actually, for those that can actually have a Creative Commons account, do that for students that are, younger, have them go and assign, look at the different licenses and assign a license to their works. So it just gets them thinking about, do a safe search. So if you go to
Oh, here.
Google, yeah.
And I do this a lot. I did this one time with my 4th graders because they use Google Images all the time without thinking anything. Oops. So if you come down here to more, nope, I do this all the time. Sorry, tools. And you hit usage rights. I like to show them what it looks like before you change the usage rights. And then when you hit Creative Commons, these are the ones that you can use.
And they have to learn how to read the type of license. And again, we go through that because we use a couple of Creative Commons videos, is how they look at the license to see, can they use it carte blanche? Is it restricted that they can only, they have no ability to remix it. So they have to learn a little bit about Creative Commons. So,
and I will say, when you're adding the images into the Google Slides, it does a really good job of pulling in the ones that are Creative Commons licensed. I've noticed that it does filter them out.
So we have another question that says, my students always ask, what are the consequences if you use something without permission? So, it goes down to ethics. It's like, what are the consequences in my day if you stole a candy bar from a liquor store, from not a liquor store, but, from a market or something. So again, it's establishing those ethics, but I think we do a really good job at helping students understand that all of their works are protected by copyright. And we have a number of activities that talk about, would they share those works? Why or why not? How they'd feel if somebody shared without their permission. So really to get them thinking about respecting their works and then transferring that respect to the works of others. So just like they wouldn't want somebody using their works without permission, or not in accordance with the Creative Commons license by violating that license type, getting students to think about, okay, I don't want someone doing that to me. I'm not going to do that to someone else. So.
And I have mentioned that, you can get like a cease and desist letter, but we talk about how that really affects not so much students, especially my elementary 4th graders.
So there, oh, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I was just going to say, there are some videos, I think it's on the high school one, that talk about like Taylor Swift, and I'm trying to remember who else was on there, but they put it in their own words. And if you can have Taylor Swift tell your students about something, they're going to listen to it a little bit better than if it's just me. And she really goes into talking about why it's important to her to have her stuff protected. And it really helped generate more questions and even more understanding to my students with those videos. And those are in the high school, but I found because of some of the questions that were being asked, I used those to help answer them.
Right. And there's another question. So did that change? I don't remember everything being included in copyright for everyone. So prior to the law change, so it's now anything older than 95 years is no longer protected by copyright. So anything, I think, was that 1924, 23. But it used to be that window from like 23 to 1978, you actually had to apply with the Copyright Office. So you had to go in and actually submit your materials to be protected by copyright. That changed. So now anything that's written in a fixed form, so whether it's written down, digitally saved, or help me, there's a third, hang on, let me just look at my digitally, I think I'd know this off the top of my head. hang on. So it's anything that's written down, recorded, or digitally saved is automatically protected by copyright. Now you can still go and apply to the Copyright Office for copyright protection. That allows you additional protection, typically monetary. So you'll see that again, big recording studios, the movie studios, things like that will go and get that extra added protection. But now the minute that I take that doodle and it's now in a fixed form because it's written down, it is protected by copyright. And if somebody used it, I would have, as the copyright holder, I can decide who can make copies, make derivatives, distribute copies, display, or perform the work in public. So everyone gets basic level copyright protection now. So.
And I wanted to add something to Beth's question about the consequences. One of the classes that I've had was really obsessed with YouTube, and they had their own YouTube channels, which still baffles me at elementary, but we got into talking about how YouTube they'll shut down videos because of copyright. And so that's something that we've talked about too, because that is a consequence for them when they use something that they shouldn't, especially music, and they try to add it to their YouTube channel. YouTube will catch it at times.
So, yeah. But again, we really build that respect for their own work. And again, how to transfer that to others is really positive messaging that helps them just to be ethical creators and consumers. So we're coming up on, it's 1:47. We have a hard stop at 1:50. So are there any other questions? Brittany, do you want to put up my contact? It's,
Yes.
I think, the last slide.
I'm going to stop sharing because I don't have the slide up.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me share. Okay, let me go to. All right, so you should be able to see my information, Dana at copyrightcreativity.org. Again, if you'd like infographics, sets of infographics, just email me with the quantity and a physical address. I just sent out my last batch of 250 sets, which took a trip to UPS. But yeah, we did get that out. So most of the requests are for individual or 3 or 5 or 10 sets, but we can do as many as you'd like for your district or your school site. And again, we're available to do hands-on training. If you'd think that your district, your teachers could benefit from some training. Once we get back to face-to-face, we will come out to you anywhere in California and in certain regional areas where we have ambassadors like Arkansas, Missouri, and Pennsylvania. So feel free to reach out with questions or as you use the content. Our colleague Julie Jameson did do a presentation. It's called You Can't Have the 4 C's Without the 5th C Copyright. And that was very well received. So you may want to check the archive and watch that session if you did not attend. But thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. And again, welcome any feedback or comments that you may have. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you had a great conference. I miss being there with you all. CSLA is one of my favorite conferences that I go to, and I really miss interacting with everyone. And you're all such avid. You're ambassadors for learning, and that's really great, and it shows. So thank you all for what you're doing to help students, especially during this difficult time. And we hope that you use and enjoy our resources. Thanks so much, and thanks, Brittany. You did a great job as usual.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
All right, take care, everybody.